Hello, we've got a vertical drama love first because I've talked to loads of amazing people in the industry, but I have finally found someone to connect with who is in the UK vert scene, which is the very beautiful, very wonderful, and very talented Shayli Reagan. So I'm going to let her introduce herself to you.
I am Shayli. I think people probably know me for being some pretty ruthless ladies on these verticals in the UK. But yeah, I'm excited to be the guinea pig of UK actresses that you're talking to. Um,
Start at the top. That's what we're doing.
yeah.
So first of all, I want to ask because anyone who goes to your Instagram
Yes.
will see you don't have just one flag; you have many flags. So could you tell us what flags you and sort of what your background is and how
Yeah,
you
yeah.
ended up in
Okay.
the
So
UK?
I'm from California originally. I'm like California born and raised. Um, and yeah, came to the UK about a year ago for like multiple reasons. One of which being I'll talk about the flags first, then I'll
Right.
talk about
Yeah,
how I ended up
yeah.
here. My mom is Mexican and Syrian, and then my dad is like American Irish. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's a huge. I've realized the older I get, and the more people that I meet from other countries, I think that like, especially like with like other Latinas and like that community, I feel really close to, and like I think that my background has definitely shaped who I am as a person and also as an actress. And I think that I have a white dad, and like Shayli Reagan is the whitest name I think you can possibly have. But I think that like my mom's side also like is it's so it made me the woman that I am. I think like how I love, how I am in my day to day has so much of an influence on like my grandma's Mexican, my grandpa's Syrian, more so like, us Latina women, we have very strong personalities. So I kind of, yeah, that's something that's really important to me. And I think it also just makes up who I am as an actress is kind of having a very diverse background. And I think that like kind of even moving here, I've realized like my background when I get into social situations, when I get into professional settings, like it's totally shapes who you are as a person, and as a performer as well.
I think it's awesome. I mean, you've got roots in four continents. How cool is that?
Yeah, my parents
So
are
cool.
literally like we created an absolute mutt of a child.
No, no, it's really awesome. Okay, so having been born and bred in California, how did you end up in the UK?
Gosh, okay, so I was originally like born and raised in SoCal, did the whole SoCal musical theater scene, which honestly I want to write something about one day because it's just different. I think all of those stories that you hear about just craziness going on in film and theater, like the SoCal musical theater scene for children is like that. It's like Dance Moms on crack, honestly. My mom was not part of that. My mom's absolute baddie, and she let me kind of figure those things out and let me kind of go through it. But um yeah, did musical theater growing up, and I was the textbook Disney princess. Like that's the only thing that I played, believe it or not. All the little sweethearts, always. And then I moved to New York and things changed. No, I'm just kidding. But I then went to NYU. I was Mariah Moss and I were there at the same time. So she was kind of the first thing I knew of verticals is I knew Mariah was killing it. I could tell she was working so much. Um but yeah, moved to New York for school, was there for 4 years, did 1 year post grad. A lot of I wanted to be doing film, and I had transferred to the film program 2 years in from the musical theater program just because I was at a point where I felt like um musical theater wasn't really right for me. It was for a time. I always say it was my first love. And I think with using that analogy, it was something that I really loved, but also was really just stressful and like emotionally stressful on me and like on my body. And I think that I came to terms with the fact that probably in terms of longevity, it wasn't what I wanted to be doing. But of course, when you do that, you start booking musicals. And so that's what happened to me when I first graduated. I started booking musicals. And the last project I did was a like a rock R&B rap version of Romeo and Juliet. And I played Romeo, oddly enough. Yeah, it was one of my favorite roles I've ever played because I remember like walking in and being like, so weird that they've casted me as Romeo. And then the more that I played the role, I was like, oh my gosh, like the kind of like just how emotional, like and up and down. I was like, oh, this is me. um, but that was the last thing I did, and then I was about to do another production, and I just went into rehearsals one day, and I already have a raspy voice, as you could probably tell from kind of my acting and stuff, but I ended up injuring myself like really badly. And I think that I was put at this crossroads of like what am I going to do? And I was in New York, and New York is so theater heavy. And I had been in London like 6 months prior. And there was something in my gut when I was here that I was like, God, I love it here. I would love to move here one day, if all things go well. And I think it kind of happened the opposite. I had something like really that in the moment was super awful and kind of just scary, I think, for a person that identifies so much with being a singer. It's just like, oh my God, like now I'm just an actor. And even though I like always liked acting more than I liked singing, I didn't really know how to just be an actor that didn't have your like vocals to back it up. But basically spent the summer like traveling and kind of toe dipping, moving to London. Managed to fall in love in the process. That also expedited it a bit, the move. um, I am a romantic, even though I don't tend to play the romantic roles. But I ended up, yeah, just when I got back to New York, I found out from a friend that he was moving over to London on a certain type of visa. And it was just a gut impulse. I was like, you know what? I was 22, 23 at the time, and I was just like, you're never going to kind of, if you have an impulse, I believe you should follow it. And I think that something was telling me to move here. I was just like, so many things started happening to kind of point that direction. And then I just did it, took a leap of faith and kind of, restarted. And I think I thought that in the beginning things would happen faster. I was like, well, I'm coming from New York and I like have this, I have theater experience. And that really, like, when you're in a new country, you're starting from square one. And I think that excited me. And I also thought that is what I needed, because I was a musical theater baby. I was in drama school, so I think I had a lot of training. But I think when it comes to life experience and experiencing new people and being uncomfortable, like I needed that discomfort in order to like get to a point now where like I feel like I grew more in that year of waiting to get my first project over here and moving than I have in any like 4 year drama school or anything. So yeah, and then I love it here and I haven't left. I think the industry here, everyone is just so kind. And like I'm sure once we get into speaking about projects, I'll be name dropping a lot of people, but yeah, I've been very fortunate to have just such a beautiful network here that makes it just the thought of leaving is like not on the horizon.
Does it work? 'Cause obviously, if you pitch up in like not only a new city, because I know people will do, the New York to the LA,
Yeah.
or middle of America to LA, but to come to a whole new country. I mean, obviously, the great thing is because you'd fallen in love, you weren't totally on your own, and that you had
Yeah, I was it.
an anchor.
Honestly. But
But
I think,
otherwise, but trying to build a career and then start like the whole network, like, and even possibly like, does it run differently? Are there
yeah,
similarities, or are you like, I'm going to have to relearn how to
God,
get roles here?
it was starting from square one for sure. I think I'm on an HPI visa, which basically was a visa that I was eligible through school. I could get it because I went to NYU. It made me eligible to get a 2 year visa here. But I mean, honestly, I think that I struggle, and it's something that I've gotten better with, but asking people for favors, kind of putting myself out there in that way. I think that like I yeah, that's my one thing that I struggled with in the beginning was kind of, especially in the States, I don't think people are as quick to like put you forward for things, to like help you out like that. You always kind of feel like someone expects something of you if they do help you a bit. Where here, like when I first moved, I was working at a boxing gym, just like doing like front desk stuff because I was like, okay, I just need a job at this point. And the girls working there were always like, contact this person, like contact this. And I was kind of just like, almost didn't know how to receive it because I didn't believe that people were actually that kind of nice about that. And it's that's how I was raised, honestly. Like I always like, if I believe in someone's talent, like I'm the first to talk about it and the first to like really like with my friends, like support them in that way. But I know that not all people are wired like that. So when a lot of people were like that at first, I was kind of just like, is this real? Like, are they being real, or is this kind of just like because I'm new and they're being nice? But yeah, I mean, I just really I was cold submitting for things on like Manzi and Backstage and not for a few months because I really was coming from a heavy stage background and my film experience was stuff that I shot in class. So I didn't really have a solid show reel at that point. But somehow booked my first feature, which I did with Lauren Stark. Yeah, so my first
That's
feature
amazing.
with her. And we're like that now, but yeah, it was on that film that oh my God, I was so nervous. But yeah, it was just starting to say yes to things, I think that I I was so married to artistic integrity that I was always like, every like thing that I say yes to has to be something that I just like. But it's also, you don't have that luxury when you're starting out. You know, you have to start. And I remember the first film I did was a horror film, and for me, like I don't watch horror, I don't consume it like that. Like I was born Catholic, I bring my holy water to set. Like born and raised Catholic kind of freaks me out, and but I said yes to it. And I think that I remember when I said yes to it, I was kind of like, I don't know, but every bit of work that I have gotten has been off the back of saying yes to that one thing. So I
Mm.
think that when I learned to say yes to things, that's when I think that doors started opening. Because it's like, you're not always going to get paid the best. You're not always going to love the script. You're not always going to like, but as long as I think that like now I've learned after kind of I've been working consistently probably for about a year now. You learn your boundaries, but then you also learn when it's like, okay, maybe this is like not my favorite, story. I don't really want to tell this story, but how will this character help me like get better? So it's just honestly the
Mm.
power of saying yes, and also just like being being nice, honestly. Like I think that, and also being accepting of people's help,
Yeah.
which I was not good at before.
It's really hard to do. It is really hard.
It is, and I
Yeah.
think that, yeah, because I'm the kind of person where I am always thinking very long term. Like when people ask me kind of what is your idea of making it? For me, it's like I'm already thinking about sitting down like with my daughter one day and being like, I did not take any shortcuts. I worked really hard. I was a good person, blah, blah, blah. Like I think that I always have that thought in the back of my head, which also can become very daunting. So when there's certain things where I'm like, oh, I could do that, but will that still align with the person that I eventually want to be?
Mm.
So it's kind of just like navigating that in a way where you feel like you're maintaining your artistic integrity, but also just like allowing yourself to do projects that are just fun, you know?
Because I think that's the thing. Because obviously, I know we're going to get onto verticals in a minute. People can be quite snobbish about that,
Oh, yeah.
but there's only a certain amount of what I would call prestige dramas, prestige movies are made. That's a very, very small percentage.
100%.
And yes, there can be amazing projects, but often their viewers aren't that high either.
Yeah. Well,
So there's this kind of thing which I find quite difficult with verticals because people will be snobbish about them. And it's like, well, you're now actually insulting all the viewers by
well,
saying what you're watching isn't worthwhile. So therefore you're not worthwhile because you're not watching it. And I
yeah.
find that that's kind of we need a wider view of entertainment of yeah, no one's sat there saying like a vertical is Shakespeare, but it's great fun and really enjoyable and you've made people's lives better for 90 minutes and actually that is something to be really proud of.
Well, I think that it's something that because for a while, had a bit of a bad taste in my mouth with musical theater. And then now that I'm away from it, I look at it and I'm like, you're giving people the ability to suspend their disbelief for a certain amount of time and get out of your reality for a certain amount of time. And like, if I can do that for anyone, or I can be a part of something that does that for people, like that's what it's about, And I think that it's something that it's all young actors. You always want to do the things that are heavy drama and that you're crying and you're screaming. And I think you can do that in verticals. Like that is there. Like that, the intense emotion is there, but you don't have the stakes of it being as like intense, and you're not like, I mean, I've been on different ones where it depends on like, sometimes they're letting us improv, sometimes they're like stick to script, which I love improv. I love being in like a scene with someone and just throwing them a bone. I love that, and that's something that I love about verticals is they let you do that and you kind of get to create the character from the ground up. And also I think that you get to breathe as much life into it as you want to, because there's some people that I like that you work with that are like, you know what, I are not as like kind of focused on changing and breathing life into it, but they want like they like playing the caricature, which is fine. Like that's just how you look at it. That's fine. But I think you kind of have your own range of where you want to take every character and every script. And sometimes I've definitely been on ones where I'm like, I'm trying to do something and in like a selfish kind of self-indulgent way and make it more than actually what this story is asking for, because the story isn't asking for me to be the freaking like Joker level of like villain, that's not what the story is asking for. Which I think that has been really beneficial as an actor to kind of learn is what is this story calling for? What is my purpose in this story? And how do I do that in a way that feels good for me, but also is something that makes sense within the narrative?
So we have loads of really cool roles we need to talk about in your verticals.
Yes.
So what was the first one that you did? Am I right in thinking it's I'm looking up on IDB now. Lawyer Up My Heiress, was that your first
Yes,
one?
that was my first one.
So um what was it like the change from going from obviously you've done horizontals and you've done features to
Yeah.
then walking into something it's like hang on the cameras are all a different way around.
You know what? I don't think that was as bad because I came from a theater background. So I think that I'm really used to kind of because when you're in a wide, it's like, okay, I'm literally head to toe.
Mm.
I'm in frame right now. And I think that because I came from a theater background, like I am really comfortable kind of with being conscious of like my entire body. I think that sometimes it's just when you have like 4 or 5 people shoved into a frame and you're like, oh shoot, I actually don't have a lot of movement. And I'm 5'9". I'm very long. My arms are really long. My legs are really long. So sometimes it's like, oh gosh, I'm taking up so much space. Um, I think it was less so that adjustment. I think it was more so just like I had worked with Andrea, the director of Lure Up, and he was the director of my first feature where I met Lauren. So
Mm.
basically, I think I've done every vertical except one of them with Andrea. And Andrea and I are like, we're very, very good friends now. And I think that the first one was a challenge for me because he was like, Shayli, I know how you are as an actress. And I remember the first day I was playing it like really kind of straight. And he was like, Shayli, this is it's a comedy. And I remember we all had that moment where we were the first day we were trying to play it super straight. And they're like, wait, the tone is actually funny. You are the funny villain. And like the other villains I've played haven't necessarily been like, there's comedy, but their intention is not like
Mm.
the comedic relief. And I think that that was harder for me where I was like, okay, get out of your own head. And like, I remember at one point, the first day it was hard. And then the second day I was acting opposite um, this guy, Tyler, that is an amazing actor. And we knew each other from the first feature that I did. We all kind of know each other, I feel like, but we were just, it was like we were Bonnie and Clyde for that day, man. We were like cracking up. We just kept cracking each other up. And then at one point, Andrea comes over and he's like, Shayli, just bark. And I was like, what? And he's like, when she walks by, just bark at her. Why not? And it was the dumbest thing, but it like I was in stitches. And I like thought about it and I was like, it's so much fun to actually just like enjoy it. But I think that that was something that I had to learn. I was like, Shayli, it doesn't have to feel bad. It can feel good. It can literally feel good. You can have a laugh about what you're doing and not take yourself that seriously. And you can also learn from not taking yourself that seriously as well.
And I think that's what you do brilliantly. And I think you combine finding some truth in it, but also you go a bit extra. And
Yes.
people love that. That's what we're there for. So I really want to talk about Homeless to Billionaire's Wife because I think that's probably where most people have seen you to start
That was my favorite too. It has a
with.
special place in my heart.
So, I mean, it's a great storyline, and actually, you start off in it because I'm trying to get the names of the characters right. So this is terrible. I should have done better research.
Okay.
So, it's yourself as Katie, and you've
Yes.
got Lauren playing our heroine Daisy, and then you've got Charlie Goddard playing Adrian. And it
Yes.
starts in the park because he proposes to you. You're
Yes.
like, no chance. And then basically Daisy, who's homeless on a bench in like the world's most hilarious homeless
Corner of
clothes,
the cobs.
vertical styles with mud smeared up all over his face, is then steps in and obviously the romance starts between
Was my man.
Daisy and Adrian. But obviously as Katie, your job is not to be happy with that. And like,
Yeah.
excuse me. Um, you're absolute hoot in it. You're
Oh, thank
brilliant. And
you.
one of my favourite scenes is obviously is there's and I think the nice thing is it doesn't really go too much to the slapping
Yeah.
either. It's much more about what she does. So there's a party where she kind of humiliates Daisy. But my favourite thing is for some reason you have Olive and then hurl at her. And I really want to know was that scripted or
No, 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 no. You know what? I'm telling you, this is the thing. It's like I believe in consuming as much as possible and then going on set the next day and just applying things. And I just remember like watching like compilation of Brad Pitt and how he's always eating. And I remember staring at the food laying there and I was just kind of like in the middle of a take and I was like, I just did it because it like came into my head. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And like, it was really impulse. And I think because it's Lauren and because we're such good friends, I think that we always have that thing where I'm like, okay, Lauren, I'm going to make your life hell and then we're gonna hug for about like 3 hours. But like, I am gonna make your life hell when we're acting opposite of each other. And she's the kind of person that's like, be as horrible as possible. Yeah, and that was just an impulse like decision. And then after I did it during my coverage, the clients were like, "I'll make sure we get an insert of that," because they liked it a lot. But yeah, that was not scripted. That was just the me inside of me coming out, a little devil in my shoulder, kind of taking over.
It's my favourite bit in the whole thing.
Oh,
It's so funny. And then
I
also, I think because you can tell Lauren wasn't expecting it as well because her face, like, what the heck have you just done?
I know. No, no. On the second one we all did together, Charlie was like, "Shayli, you're always just like either throwing shit at her, or like grabbing her face, or like something." And I'm just like, yeah, I don't. I think it's because me and Lauren, as friends, we are like the most like huggy, touchy feely. So I think that when I'm playing a role, I find it really easy to just like, I don't know, just grab her, throw things at her, like love her. But yeah, it's that. Oh, I love that one, honestly.
So how does that work? Because it sounds like you've got quite a tight knit cast. Because people who are watching at the moment will see that obviously you're often in them,
Yeah.
Charlie's often in them, Lauren's often in them. Is it just that that's what happens, or is it almost like you're like it's like a little theatre troupe, and it's like, well,
Well,
we've got
that's
a
what we were
story, bring you
like.
guys in.
It was so weird because I think that Lauren and I knew each other, and then I was texting her one day because it was, and then I found out she was doing Homeless Billionaire's Wife like 2 days before, and we like flipped out because we were like, oh my god! And then we both met Charlie on that set, who I absolutely adore. I think he's just like otherworldly talented. Um, and then the next one, the same thing happened. Is we just all somehow ended. We didn't know, and Lauren was coming down for a birthday party we were going to together, and she was like, "Oh, sorry, like I have a table read," and I was like, "Girl, I have a table read." And then we both show up at the table read, and who is standing there? Charlie. And we were just like, "What?" Like, but I think that the three of us really, really have a good dynamic, and I'm like, I really, I would love to honestly, if I could do all of them with the two of them, I'd be the happiest person in the world. But
We'd all be happy watching, I think.
I I know, I know.
So yeah, so that one's Farewell My Lover,
Yes.
which is that one. And it's one that I think I said I thought the script was fine, but you all deserve more. And I think it was one where I felt all three of you really elevated what you were given to work with.
Yeah.
Um, and in particular your villain that you made me feel for her. Yeah,
Well,
some heartrending stuff, and I was kind of vaguely on her side for a while, and then you remember
no.
that she's doing kidnapping and this and that, and no, you really shouldn't sympathise.
Well,
But that's quite a skill to make me.
thank you.
Yeah,
No, it's actually really funny because I one day we were up shooting in this like the beautiful, most beautiful mansion, and Charlie, I was one scene, and I was because we were like, how is he gonna get his whiskey? And I was like, oh, I'll just have it for you when you walk in the door. So like I grab his coat and I hand him his whiskey, and he's like, we were speaking between scenes, and he's like, actually, Edward is like. He's crazy because here you have this girl who's your assistant, who's like so nice to you, bringing you whiskey when you get home, holding your clothes, and he just doesn't want her. And after that, I was kind of just like, yeah, you know what? I think that I don't know, and it's how I felt a little bit about doing Homeless to Billionaire's Wife. I am especially because I always play the villains. I think at this point it's just branded, which is fine. I enjoy it honestly, but I wish they gave a little bit more to us in the sense, and I always will try because I think that in my head, because I mean I'm in a string of playing some really manipulative bad people, but I think it's boring to just play into the fact that they're bad for the sake of being bad. I think you have to kind of justify all their actions for like they think they're doing the right thing, you know. And I think that with Katie, I remember Charlie and I had a conversation about it. And in my head, prior to Daisy, they were kind of like Chuck and Blair from Gossip Girl. And like I think that what we were saying, we wish there was a part you got more of their relationship and kind of, you know, maybe they both were like that. Maybe they both were cheating on each other for years and it's just like part of the games they play with each other. And then he meets this girl and it's like, okay, I don't want to do that anymore. And Katie's still fixated on the fact of like, but that's what we do, you know?
love that. Like that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. That works in my head.
We talked about it on
Love
set.
it.
So I was like, how do we make him look like, you know, dirty him up a little, but also like give him a bit of an arc. For me, give me a reason for being so perturbed, and also why, like, till the middle, I'm so oblivious to the fact that he actually cares about her. I think he's playing the game, and I think that also in Farewell My Lover, we really sat down and were like, we can drop lines here and there. Because I remember in Farewell My Lover, Charlie was the one that's like, I'm just gonna be calling you Izzy the whole time instead of Isabella to like establish the fact that we're actually friends, like we're good friends, and yeah, I think that with that one, it was weird because I think she was more contained, other than the voiceovers, obviously, than I. I usually play a very outwardly kind of not nice uh character, where Isabella is like she is nice to him, you
I
know?
think that was it. I think you hit it on the head there because it was like, do you know what? She's a woman scorned. This is someone who's been
100%.
with him for years and is obviously thinking at some point this is going to turn into the relationship.
Yeah.
You can't get by without me.
Yeah.
And the fact that someone sort of catapults in, and obviously there's the whole thing, if you can't compete because they got the whole childhood
Yeah.
story, and it's like, oh, come on. I've always thought there should be a story about that, actually, about the person who gets booted out because of the long lost childhood love. And I think that's what's really nice. And actually, what I like about what they do with the character as well in that one
Mm.
is that it's not just that she's scorned, but normally that is just, it's just centered on the female who's
Yeah,
replaced.
yeah.
But she's like, do you know what? I've had it with you as well.
Yeah.
Had it with a male who's done that to you, and you're like, actually, I want him gone as well because look what
Well,
you've done to me. And I
how
really liked that. I thought it made her much more interesting.
well, I always kind of had it in the back of my head that it's like that helped me with the characters. Maybe they had like a night at some point or some sort of something at some point that she's been fixated on forever, and for him it was just like ah. But like I always had that in the back of my head because for me that was playable. That
Mm.
was more playable than like I've been sitting here for like ever, like because I do think that you can tell they have a ball, like a very, at least because I mean me and Charlie are buds, so I think that we were like playing it where it's like they're best friends, like they are so close, and I think that what we kind of thought was playable was, you know, she likes him, he leans on her for a lot of support, um, and he's not a perfect person either, so we thought that that would kind of make more sense. That if maybe at one point he toe-dipped a little with her or something, and it just is
Mm.
like, you know, he has this girl in his head, and she knows that. And at some point she didn't care, and it's like, okay, well, it's fine, you know. But then, yeah, because I think that it just, yeah, it made it more interesting, and it made it more like, especially when Charlie and I have like an anecdote in my head about like, uh, Homeless to Billionaire's Wife. Like when I met Charlie, it was literally, I walked into the house and hadn't really spoken to him at all. I think said hi, and then we shot the scene in the bedroom where we're just screaming at each other, and we're like, God, if anyone cast the two of us in like a toxic couple, we will be like, it's just crazy meets crazy. But no, but I walked in and like I met him, and then we were like, basically, it was immediately just like, do you want to start running it and just start like, and I remember the light was so gorgeous, and we just started running a scene together, and it was like, whoa. And we got that, like, there's this actor buzz you get when you're like doing a scene with someone that is just like, it's like pinball, like going back and forth, going back and forth. And I think that because that was our initial experience of meeting each other, I think every scene that the two of us have, even if we're like, this isn't that much, we're always really focused on like, because we love acting together, like, how can we like make this like alive? And I think that for me, it helps because he's like, I think that you want to know why the villain's a villain. You want to know and especially with like Katie and Adrian, I think that I almost played every scene with him like I wanted to kiss him. I was just like, oh, I'm not gonna be that mad at him because in my head, like Katie is so narcissistic that she just thinks she can do anything and she can look at him and be like, oh, but you know. And I think that that's more playable, and I think that we have a lot of like we look at acting exactly the same. And I think that with Farewell My Lover, we're like, we don't really have any scenes together other than the one scene where like I tell him we love him and I love him and he's like, get out here. We didn't really have any scenes together that were like super high emotion, kind of just like locked in right here. Obviously in the other one I was beating him. So we were like, how can we give this some sort of oomph? And I think that like it's the same thing with Lauren and I. It's always me being mean to Lauren, but I'm, you know, because we all like each other, we want to make each other look good, and we also want to like you want to get that buzzy feeling with someone and like feel the like the chemistry and the energy because that's what it's about, and that's why it's like addicting to act.
And it is magical for us because honestly, you can see it, you can feel it on the screen, and that's so. I'm so thank you so much for sharing all that because yeah, it explains why I think we're drawn to you as viewers of like
Yeah,
these people when they turn up, it's magic.
we love each other. We do.
Yeah.
I like Lauren, Lauren and Charlie. Like I think that you know, as much as we like as a trio, I think that we've also like I've established friendships with both of them, and I feel really in completely different ways feel really connected to both of them. I think Lauren is genuinely one of the like words can she's just absolute sweetheart. Like that girl is 100% just good. Like she is selfless. She's the first person to put anyone forward for something. Is the least competitive, most supportive person, and like is wicked talented to top it off. And gorgeous, obviously. And then Charlie, I also feel the same. I mean, I think he's one of those people that like you get that kid in the right role at some point, and he's just gonna absolutely skyrocket. I mean, yeah, he's so talented, and he also, I think that something that I did want to speak about to you. He's the first person. I feel like as a woman, when you're on set, you also, I feel like I can speak up, but sometimes you don't want to like push boundaries. Where like someone like Charlie is the first person, even before we start shooting, to be like, I think this is not super respectful of women. I think this is not. He's the first person to back us, and I think that like now that we're all friends, we'll clock if I'm uncomfortable. We'll clock if Lauren's uncomfortable, and I think like we need more men like that on set. You know, we need more guys that will like, you know, and it's not just because we're all friends. I think that like he just is like that, and I think that that's really refreshing to like see someone that's so talented. That's a guy that also is just so respectful, and also respectful of the stories that we're telling, and knowing that like, you know, you guys as viewers, there's certain things that you guys don't always want to see, and I think we try to be vocal about that. But I think also a guy being able to do that and be like, hey, even from the male perspective, this is not really, you know, good. Because there are sometimes things that like I think that we as actors don't necessarily want to be putting out there, like certain tropes that we don't really want to be kind of playing into, because we think that, like it might be triggering for people, or it might like, you know. But he's a good egg, and Lauren is a good egg as well.
So that's, yeah, because that's one of my goals, because I'm aware that, you know, the storylines, I mean, that it's evolving all the time, and obviously we'll
Yeah,
get on to it, but, you know, creatives now are writing, but a lot of the storylines, they're coming from web novels that were in China that were made shows there and then coming over here.
yeah,
And obviously there's a cultural difference. And actually I was talking to a journalist in China at the weekend who was
yeah.
like, I do want to reassure you, we don't go around slapping people all the time.
Oh,
He was like, they very much put that in because it's the way they market it in China. So they will put it in so they can clip it, put it in
yeah,
ByteDance, which is their TikTok,
yeah, yeah.
do the really shocking thing and then pull people in, which is obviously a bit horrible marketing, really. But I was like, just
Yeah,
yeah, but that's what they do. But yeah, it's, I think it's something that we've all agreed when I've spoken to fans and also to a lot of creators behind the scenes of actually we don't really want it in the Western audiences. And if nothing else, it desensitizes it. So I think if
yeah,
you do have one of the ones where you're stuck with endless slaps, it's like it doesn't really mean anything. Whereas if there's something where there is occasionally one moment, that's actually a lot more shocking
100%.
and has an impact, and if it serves the story. So, but yeah, it's really good to hear that what we're trying to do as fans is kind of supporting that, and hopefully all of us together can just like let's move on for that now and do something a bit more exciting, respectful. So
Yeah, well, I think that you know, I'm definitely the kind of person where I focus on the work, and then I also try to not kind of kick up too much about things. But I also think that like Charlie has taught me as like we have a responsibility as actors also to make sure your peers are comfortable, not just yourself.
mm,
And it's hard though, because I think sometimes you're on set and you're just like, oh gosh, like I'm shooting, I mean, like 20 pages a day, like, and I
mm,
think sometimes things get lost. And I think that especially when you're working with like creative teams that maybe not everyone speaks the same language. Like, so if I'm trying to convey something, it might not be received in the same way that I'm trying to convey it. Um, but yeah, I think that there is a bit of miscommunication, because I think that people are like, oh, well, this is what the viewers want. And then I speak to people like you, and it's like, we see eye to eye, you know,
mm,
on what you guys want to see, what you guys don't want to see. Um, but I think that I can say, at least in the UK, people are really that like actor wise, if we have a problem with something, everyone's been super upfront about kind of even just like from day one, from a table read, from like prior to even shooting, hey, we think that this might be pushing it a bit too much. Or like I think with all the kind of, I always have this in the back of my mind. I learned it in in a singing class. I was told this, but I was thinking about Judy Garland when she's singing a happy song, she's moved to tears, and when she's singing a sad song, she's like smiling. And I think that that was something that I always have like taken with my acting, and kind of I think like, you know, with the vertical, sometimes things are really on the nose, and like with the slaps, with this, with that. And I think that also just sometimes it's more powerful to watch someone not cry, or sit and just see that bit of like welly, you know, start happening. And I think that, yeah, it's hard because you find a happy medium of just being like, all right, what are the stakes? Obviously, in these stories, the stakes are extremely high. There's a lot of screaming, there's a lot of crying, there's a lot of this, there's a lot of that. And how can I still make it grounded in some sort of reality that makes me feel good as an actor? Um, which I think we're all figuring out, and like you said, I think that there's a lot of growth that's happening right now with these things being made like crazy. And I think that every project I've been on, I felt a little bit like more comfortable, a little bit more like we have more creative control as actors when we don't feel comfortable with things. But yeah, I think it's strange, but I think that we're getting to a point now where things are coming out that are like, oh, that's actually progressing the
Yeah.
platforms,
And I think that's a really exciting thing, because if we stay with, the fun, the original stuff, it's fun, but it will burn out and it
Yeah,
won't be around in another year.
yeah,
Whereas that's how it's going to stay if it moves
100%.
on and everyone elevates the space. So we've done an amazing thing. We've gone quite deep there. So I feel like I need to
Lighten the
move, because
mood.
that was amazing. That was so important. But I also want to ask you a few things just about the fact that one of the things I love when I'm watching your verticals is obviously they're filmed in the UK. So I'm
Yes,
quite excited.
I do too.
English things in the background.
It's like we're in New York. We're like, I don't know.
Yeah. So I get really excited. But I've also noticed, and so I know you've done a few with Sea Star Productions,
Yes.
right?
Oh, yeah.
And they all seem to do quite a good job, as well as having obviously the beautiful sets, the vertical houses, but quite a lot of outdoor scenes.
Mm, yeah.
I just wondered, like, are they mainly filmed in London? Do you film them outside of London? Sort of how
We,
do you manage those? Because also
yeah.
that's a lot of logistics once you take stuff outside.
Honestly, I always think about like whoever scouts locations, like God bless them, because honestly, I don't know how they find these like incredible locations. I think usually what we'll do is they'll get some sort of like mansion in the countryside. You'll go out, you'll stay for like 3, 4 nights, shoot all of that stuff, and then come back to London for any of the office or like the restaurants or things like that. Um, but man, I have stayed in some ridiculous places. I cannot even tell you. It's like I'll be sending because I'll be getting a set so early, so my parents in California will still be up, and I'll just send them pictures of like the houses we're filming in, like in the English. I mean, I still feel like a child. I think that being in film has restored like my like childlike wonder that I feel like was lost with theater a bit because I'd done it for so long. But I mean, when I'm on set and we're in these houses, I honestly am just like, where am I? And then I'll hear people talking in different accents around me, and I'm just like, I like genuinely feel like I'm in a movie sometimes. I'm like, this is just so cool. But yeah, the exteriors, I I'm trying to think. We've never really had any sort of like issues with the exterior shots or anything, because like I mean in London sometimes you have like random people walking around. I mean, I got very lucky, and poor Charlie, originally in Homeless to Billionaire's Wife, he was supposed to be pulling up in the Lamborghini, and then the morning of, Andrea was like, he was like, I want Shayli to have her Megan Fox moment. So I got to drive the Lamborghini. I was so happy. I was like, because they were like, it's always the guy coming out of the cool car. And they were like, let's just have her do it because it also establishes her character from the jump. Oh, I was so happy. But that, I think people were definitely taking pictures and like looking at that car because it was just like such a loud color. And I was sat there just like in my shades. And I was just hoping, I'm like, I hope no one tries to rob me because I'm like sitting in this Lamborghini with a lip plumper. That's all I got. Literally right here. That's all I had on me.
Oh, I love that. And yeah, I love that. That really worked actually, because I remember that scene now. Now you said it. So yes, hooray for her having the car.
Oh yeah, no, girl is driving an absolute ride, man. Lucky Katie. I was like, no wonder she's a piece of work if she's pulling up in a Lamborghini and he's proposing in this just park. I was like, maybe it makes sense.
To ask you as well, because I always think another key part of being a villain, and I know
Yeah,
we're not going to keep you a villain. I feel we definitely need Shaylee can do more.
I
Everyone wants
can, I
you.
can.
Shaylee does not need to stay a villain. But some of the clothes and the
Oh, I love it.
style is quite iconic. Does it help with the role? And are there like favourite things that you've got to wear, and have you wanted to keep any of them?
Oh my God, yeah. I think that is my favorite part of, and I've always been like very heavy, like with characters, I'm like, make me look different. Like honestly, I think when people are just like wear your hair down and straight, I'm like, like I like when you come in and they like with Katie, it was just slicking my hair back every day. I don't think I wore my hair like this at all. They had my hair slicked. really like that helps me. So I always say it's like putting on your armor in the morning when you're playing a character. And I'm like, just make me someone that I don't like, because I think you get comfortable and you're more self conscious when you're closer to yourself. At least that's what I've discovered. Um, but yeah, I mean, oh gosh, I think in all of the looks that C Star has given me in everything I've done with them, I just am like, they just always just really do me solid. I think that that black dress that I wore in the olive throwing scene, that I love that dress. It's just that's when I honestly I was joking with my mom. I was like, I feel like I was channeling all my ancestors because I had like the slick back. I felt like I just the red lips, all of that. It was oh my god, that was I loved that. And then I like the gold dress that I wear really briefly in the engagement scene. That was really beautiful. And like the oh my gosh, the hair makeup costume team, oh my, they're just amazing. They're really I think that it's something that I heard in an interview recently that Zendaya did where she was talking to like Angelina Jolie and like a couple of other actresses about how you watch your work and you don't judge it. And she said something that really stuck with me about the fact that like as an actor, you're not the only person that is creating your character, you know? It's the work of the makeup artist, the hair the well, both the hair and makeup artists, the costume people, the director, the DP, everyone's coming together to create this person. And I think that especially with the villain characters, it's all about the looks and it's all about kind of, wearing things like that you're not super. I know I have a very distinct style that is nothing like the style of the people that I play. Because I mean, I'm definitely like, I like being feminine, but I like mixing like masculine and feminine stuff. Like, I like wearing big baggy jackets, baggy clothes with like cute little feminine things, which is never what a villain is gonna wear, you know? It's always the tight, really like, which it just helps. In a way, you suspend your disbelief of who you are and your kind of like limitations. And I'm like, honestly, I wish there's situations where I wish Katie would have came out in my personal life, and she unfortunately didn't. But yeah,
And I've talked to fans as well, and I know that's something that they love actually. It's like, because a lot of the appeal of verticals is the escapism.
yes,
And so
yeah,
that is the escape of seeing these fabulous dresses and, the suits and the mad flourishes that they give people. That
yeah,
actually, that's what we want. We're not so interested in sometimes it's nice to have jeans at the top, but actually we're watching it slightly for that fantastical world where it's all just a little bit different. And we have
yeah.
that hope, which I've watched too many. I'm like, maybe there is a billionaire around the corner. My ideas, since I know they're not here, Jen. They've been stalked by one of your characters somewhere.
Yes.
Um, so those are some of like your projects have come out. What have you got coming up that you would like to share? Because I've seen one which I know is not vertical, but I saw it on
Yes.
your IMDb and I'm like, this looks so good. So could you tell us a little bit about? I
Oh,
think it's called. Is
yeah.
it a tailor-made romance?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is I honestly it was my first feature I had done in a minute after doing quite a few verticals. And I think that honestly the story it could be a vertical, but it's about a young like fashion designer, and she's kind of at the point with her business where she's tailoring things for people, but she wants to be a legitimate designer. And she basically meets this she's I was there's one more American, but this American girl like in the UK, which typecast, who falls in love with a British man, also typecast. um but yeah, it was very easy to pull from my real life for that one. But basically Ethan is this very rich like business owner, like old money, and but he cannot dress. The guy has no style. And basically his sister, who's also American, brings Olivia, my character, in to basically just like sort out his bad wardrobe. And they're both very stubborn. And Connor and I, we're also good friends. We both always play villains. That was like when we both got cast in romantic leads, we were like, like, and like there's nothing toxic about this relationship. Like, it was actually so refreshing to kind of play people that were both dealing with their own kind of hang-ups, but I guess like, and it does reflect onto each other, but not in a way that's like you don't want them to get together. You kind of see, and we really wanted to not make it that. And I remember we had a scene where kind of our natural impulse was to start yelling at each other. And we were like, and the director, Greg, who's just also just incredible, he was like, guys, just have a conversation. Because I don't think you need to be screaming at each other to like get it across. And then we played it really straight. We improved a bit, and I was like, oh, it and it was weird because walking away from it, I think we did a good job of like giving it emotional life. But again, like I said earlier, not being super self-indulgent and trying to make it something that it's not, or make it feel like a toxic relationship or anything. And I think that it's something that people will watch and walk away from feeling really good. And I remember when we were shooting like the scene, obviously it's a rom-com, they get together. I'm not spoiling anything, but we were both like moved to tears just naturally because it was like, holy, like this is just, and I think that something that I did want to talk about was um why I like verticals as well. I think that this generation, I think writing now, people never want to kind of let people fall in love because they feel like it weakens. Like especially with the female character, they're like, oh well, if we give her a love interest and we make her a lover, like that weakens her. When like in reality, I think that like to love and be receiving of love is one of the bravest things you can actually do because you're also putting your heart on the line and you're risking like absolute heartbreak when you're risking that. And I think that why I've loved doing the verticals, even though I play the kind of opposing force, but doing this rom-com was like this character that was just so cool and so like had everything together, but that missing piece was having a partner that elevates her, I think. And I think that that is kind of something that, especially with like young kids, like obviously everyone's been burned in the past. Like obviously, like with Isabella, that's easy to access. Like everyone knows what that feels like, but also like the fact that like you can meet someone that elevates you and like breathes life into you in a way. And I think that that story did a really good job of showing like two successful people who have everything they could want, but that's that one little bit of that missing piece that they come together and it's just magic. And it's like, and I remember Connor and I speaking about it and we're like, these are two people that if there was a sequel, they're building an empire. Like they are building an empire and their kids are going to be like solid and they're going to be great parents because they worked through all their trial. Like it's just, yeah, it was really special. Yeah, and it made me feel good. It just made me feel good doing a project like that.
And what I'm going to say now is obviously you will keep me posted and tell me when it's out because I will
Absolutely, yeah.
obviously get myself onto whatever platform it is or down the
Yes.
cinema or whatever I need to do to watch it because I
Yeah.
really want to see it.
Oh, yeah.
So what other things have you got coming up that you can talk about? And are we
Yeah.
allowed to talk about the
Yeah,
writing,
yeah, yeah.
the writing as well?
I will say I have a couple of verticals on the horizon. Um, I'm not really sure casting wise kind of what's going on, but I definitely have some on the books. And then yeah, Lauren and I can't speak about that because we're writing it, but we've written a vertical and I've told you about that. It's a Western
Yes.
and oh my God, yeah, I have fallen in love with these characters and I think that you know, we're trying, it may work, it may not work. I don't know how people will receive it, but I think that something that I love about all the old kind of like CW shows is you actually have a group of friends that everyone's interesting. Everyone's like, and as much as there are villains and there are like, you understand why people are the way they are. And I think that like we were talking about the fact that I'm like, none of the two female leads, they don't cry. The boys, on the other hand, because I think that like something that like with the male characters, you always have the strong male character that will like show a little bit of emotion, but it's also just like, you know, I the one of the male leads that I've written that I really really like. It's like he's been pushed to do very bad things, but you kind of watch him as it goes on undo all of his trauma as opposed to like becoming more traumatized as things happen to him. You basically it's about all of these four kids undoing all of these things and then obviously having like great romance in the meantime. But I think that we're trying to do something really young and really fun and really while still maintaining that kind of air of like this could never really happen in real life, but like if it did, that would be great.
Yeah.
um,
And I think it's perfect time as well because I think that's what everyone's looking for now.
yeah,
But the
but
fact that you know the genre, you know that you need to keep the beats, you know that you need to keep the
yeah,
speed moving, but you also can work out how to tell even more exciting stories.
exactly. And I think that what we were trying, obviously, like when we were writing, we are like, yeah, we were writing this for ourselves, but I think that you can play into like the trope of like there's a slow burn, there's people that like you know meet like that and they're just like that is my person, like, but you can do it in a way that also like their relationship has levels and it has nuance and there is like tension and there is discomfort and there's just without it being negative. I think that everyone, at least I think from what we've done, everyone comes out on the side of it, even though like stuff has gone down and like bad stuff has gone down. I wanted to make sure each character has like an exit route of happiness, whatever that may look like in a way. At least for the four leads, I think that like, especially in love, like I think it's complicated, and I think like as you get older, like you understand that like if there's always going to be like discomfort and there's always going to be like forgiveness, and I think that that is what we really tried to do, and I think it'd be really cool. I'm hoping we'll be getting it made sometime this summer.
Fingers crossed.
I know, yeah. But that's
Mm.
I honestly I fell way too in love with all the characters that I just have honestly since I wrote it been like okay, take a step back for a couple weeks because it's Lauren and I just both feel really passionate about telling the story and thinking it's something new, and I may work, may not. I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, but just well done you, and thank you for what you're trying to do. So I just want to finish with a few quick questions, just to
Yes.
put you on the spot. So, um, what is the last thing you went to the cinema to see?
Oh, I saw Sinners on Sunday.
Is it as good as everyone's telling me?
I literally got flushed when you said that because oh my God, yeah. It is just I can't. I think that I mean I'm music is probably my first love, honestly, and my boyfriend is a music producer, sound designer, so we're very this is a very music heavy, especially like R&B and stuff. We love that's what we listen
Mm.
to, and I think that it's something that it was a vampire film, but I think that it was just so musically driven, and the score is just it's otherworldly, and I think that just like it almost just felt like it's a big budget passion project. And I
Mm.
think that like the director, you can tell like it was a story he had been dying to tell. And even though it had a big budget and it was like a studio film, it did not feel like that. It felt like an art film. It felt just innovative. Like, oh, yeah, it is. It is as good. I always, when people say that, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to like this as much as, when people kind of hype something up that much. But I walked away and I'm like, I have not stopped thinking about it since I left the theater.
Because it's really interesting. So I've not been to cinema for 18 months, but I'm
Yeah,
going to go to see this.
you
It's the
should. Yeah.
first one that's made me go, actually, I want to see that at the cinema.
But
So,
you know what? I also think it's a movie for lovers. It is. It has that just like sexy without it being too risque. I think
mm.
like no one gets their clothes off, which I was kind of like, whoa, I was expecting, in like a film like that, and I think, but it's just so sexy and it's so yeah. Oh, I loved it. I loved it. I know you mentioned on you wanted to see Hadestown as well.
I do want to see Hades
You
Town.
have to. You have to.
Okay, right. This is my.
Oh, you have to. Because I remember I was like, I'm gonna tell her she has to go. Like, you have to go. That musical is, yeah. It's one of those that it's just like, but it's so beautiful and so well told and so well just it's gorgeous.
So, right, you've told us what movie we need to see, and you've told us the musical. And what
Yes.
about book? What's the book that you go, you need to read this?
Oh, I'm not gonna lie. I've not. I was such a reader as a child and as an adult. I think the
What was your
last.
childhood favourite book?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I was a Hunger Games kid. I can't even tell you how I had my dad in the backyard. Now that I'm saying this, I'll send you videos after we get off
Yeah.
this call, making a catching fire film before it came out.
I love
Um,
it.
I no, I used to, my dad, I would go out in the woods and I would run around in like my little Katniss suit and then I'd put a wig on and play PETA. I was playing everyone. Um, but no, I've been dying to read Sunrise on the Reaping. But I haven't had time because I just like it's like I'll get a script and I'm like, God, I want to take time and read that book. And then I'm like, um, I did recently read what was it? Goodbye to Berlin, which is like what Cabaret is based off of.
Yeah.
Oh, that was such a good read. I was reading it when I was in Malmo. My boyfriend had a business trip, and I read that. And I was like in Europe by myself, and I think that like Sally Bowles is like one of my favorite characters of all time.
Actually,
So
that's the perfect location.
yeah,
That sort of book, and then, yeah, someone like Malmo, and it's just a little
yeah.
bit in and out of place, and I love
No,
it.
and I was because he was working, and I was like sitting. I remember it was like happy hour, and I had a glass of wine. I was reading that book, and I was just like, oh, like this is just like it felt so like European, and I'm like I'm so
Yes, so
American,
you're
man. Such romantic, but yeah. So that was the last thing I read, and I'm a big flight reader. I'll try to finish a book on a flight if I'm doing the long haul from LA to New York, because I'm like, that's one time where I know I'll sit down and I will focus and I'll be like, I want to make sure that I'm at least reading a few books a year just to keep those muscles going. Um, but yeah, in terms of recommendations, I don't really know off the top of my head.
You've got a sort. So I'm going to finish on, because obviously you said it's your passion. What about music? Do you have like a current earworm or just something, an artist that you're like, people need to check this person out? Why aren't they listening?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an R&B girl, like R&B, soul, hip hop, like um but my favorite artist is named Black, with a little six, Lack. Um, he's just, I think that he's a lover. Like that's just like, I think that he's one of those people that like writes about love in a way that is like, which I think a lot of kind of, especially in the hip hop like R&B genre, a lot of the men, they'll be rapping about things that are not super fragile and like kind of just like money and girls and stuff like that. Where I think that like he's someone that just bears his soul in his music, and he does it in a way that's still just really cool and really like also Giveon, another R&B singer that I love. As far as women, Janae Aiko, Jessie Reyez, she is, I always, anytime I'm playing anyone a little crazy, I listen to Jessie Reyez, because I think that like she is how I wish I've spoken to certain people in my life that I didn't get the chance to, because she is just that person that is like zinger after zinger. But I think that I mean, I make playlists for every character. I think music is
Ah,
so important. Like, I think that for me, it's one of those things that I always say, like, love and music are two things that cannot be defined or contained in any sort of way. And I think that it's a reason why, like, music has lasted through all time. Like, it's how I think there's timestamps with music. So there's reasons why, like, you feel like memories, stuff like that. And I think with character, that for me is a really huge entry point. I'm shooting a pilot in like about a month, and my character is another absolute, like, I mean, she is an absolute crazy, manipulative, but like has been through just like the absolute ringer. And that character, I've started that playlist, and I'm just like, whoa, but it helps me. It just is something that like really, I think that music always ties you to memory, I think, and it really helps with characters. But yeah, if you need a playlist, I'm your girl.
love that. I'm just like, I want to know now who else does that. That sounds like such a good idea, because I use that for work
Yeah.
and also to sleep. So I've listened to certain work playlists so often that my body like reacts, and like right now I'm working, and there's another one. It's like
Yeah.
I'm to sleep, because it's so trained into my mind that
It
that's what this
helps.
means.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Can I just say thank you so, so much? You have been
Thank
just like the best
you.
person to talk to. And as well as we've all learnt loads of things, I just think you're doing amazing things to elevate the space. So just thank you, thank you, thank you, wonderful lady.
Well, thank you also. I think that like as much as on the creative side of things, it's good to have like feel like your voice is heard. I think also like to you guys that are watching, and like we like to hear how you feel. And like I think that I have felt safe speaking to you probably more than I have felt safe sometimes speaking to like people on the creative side, or people that are looking at it from an outside perspective, and also like kind of share the views that we have. And I think that it's really important to keep open communication between actors and people watching our work, because like why else we do it? It's like, for you guys, honestly. And yeah, I'm just happy to have this relationship with you, and to be able to speak about it and come on here and talk about things that we both like enjoy and make us both feel good.
I do. We've had the best time. Thank you so much.
Of course.